In somewhat of a surprising move, Colorado loses one of their top assistants to the NFL. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcasting network in the business. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, so make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Coach Peko, Coach Domata Peko, is going to the NFL in a surprising sort of Monday night twist. I'm going to talk about the loss in general and sort of what this means for Colorado. And then Colorado also added a wide receiver commit late in the game for the 2026 class. So I'll dive into that a little bit as well. So Coach Peko, and what was sort of I felt like a Monday night news dump, was just all of a sudden announced as the hire for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think it's shocking for a couple of reasons. For one, he spent a lot of, if not his entire career, with one of their rivals, right? He was with the Bengals for the longest time. I think it was for most of his career, if not all of it. Yeah, he played for the Bengals for 2006 to 2016. So that's a little shocking. So he goes to a rival of the Bengals, and then it's just shocking to me that he's being hired as a defensive line coach, right? He was the defensive line coach this past season for the Buffs, and quite frankly, I thought he had a lot of growing to do. I was really excited to see what he would be able to do this offseason, or this next season and this offseason, really, with a revamped defensive line. I think last year he sort of inherited a less than stellar group, and the results showed that. It was like, okay, he's not working with the best group, so we can't expect the best results. But it was his first year coaching. I wasn't too impressed, quite frankly, but it's just one of those things where it's like I was really excited to see how he developed as a coach, because I think he probably learned a lot from this last year. He was going to have a chance to coach both of his sons, which I think a lot of people are now worried that they're going to transfer. They can't transfer right now because obviously the portal is closed. That being said, there's no telling what will happen to them after next year. Hopefully they both stick around. But it was really a shocking sort of development for me, because I don't know if he's ready for the NFL level yet. I think there's a difference between being an NFL player and having NFL knowledge and then being able to coach. From what I saw last year, Colorado's defensive linemen were constantly pushed off the line. They did not understand their assignments. They struggled to clog rushing lanes. They struggled to generate pressure on the quarterback. I thought there was a lot of room for improvement. So what does this loss mean for Colorado? Well, before I get there, let me talk about our sponsors over at Mazda. If you guys didn't know, Mazda is the place to go because they're moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen, I would say I'm going to highlight Coach Prime. I feel like he's had himself a phenomenal offseason. I'm going to highlight him as my Mazda moving the game forward selectee, if you will. It reminds us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's the extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I never quit. We put the same passion to every model. Highlights make the real. What it takes to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. What's next for Coach Peko? Well, for Colorado, excuse me. I don't think this is the worst loss. I think this is a loss that they could survive. Now, I don't know where you really go from here in terms of finding a replacement, because I do feel like the coaching cycle has pretty much shut down. That being said, I talked about it. This defense, was terrible last year, especially the front seven. Like I'm going to pull up the numbers. They were ranked I think they were 131st in run defense. Let's see if my memory serves me correct. They were down there. 132nd. I was close. They ranked 132nd in run defense. And I don't really think Coach Peko, I feel like he had a lot of room to grow. Him going from 1 year of college football coaching to the NFL is quite shocking to me. That being said, I think if you're Coach Prime, you could find someone with more experience. Now, the thing that it does hurt with, and I feel like we kind of saw it this offseason specifically, was you sort of lose that Pauly connection, right? I believe Coach Peko played a big role in landing Leon in a foul. He played a big role in landing the San Jose State transfer. Like, he was sort of helping these guys out in a big way, tap into a pipeline that not every program could tap into. And so I think you lose that, right? He also brought in his two sons, obviously. So you lose that. But if you're Coach Prime, you need someone with experience. You need someone who's willing and able to recruit. And having pipelines to hotbed states or hotbed talent areas would be a nice thing. So I think it's a tough loss to say the least in terms of recruiting. In terms of on-field development and play, I'm not entirely sure that Colorado's missing all that much, but we'll just have to wait and see with who comes in the doors. We're going to take one quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Colorado's latest recruiting edition because it's a good one. But first, let's talk about Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move. If I were hiring, I wouldn't just want someone who could help. I'd want someone with real experience who could jump right in. And with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who are actually a fit. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of the show, will get $75 sponsored job credit to help you find the people for your job. So go to Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Okay, Colorado made a nice, I would say, underrated, low-key addition on the show, I'm talking about him on the show. They made a nice addition to their recruiting class. Jacob Swain, former Rice commit out of Texas. And honestly, it's kind of shocking that this kid wasn't more respected, I guess, in recruiting circles, I think you could say. It's one of those things where you have to truly understand, like, Brennan Marion loves to offer people, and we're seeing a lot of his recruiting savvy come out, right? We're seeing a lot of his recruiting, I guess, drive come out as well, because I would say for the longest time, Colorado was just sort of keyed in on guys in Florida, and then it was what it was, right? It was what it was. You get a guy from Florida, and that was it, and then we'll look elsewhere here and there. But I feel like with Brennan Marion, he's really looking all over the place. And there was a comment section. There's a comment in the comment section that I want to address. He was a defensive assistant for the Cowboys, so that's not really like a position coach. Obviously, I should have mentioned that earlier. He had some sort of coaching experience, but this was his first year as a position coach, and I don't think it went well. So for him to get a job in the NFL level kind of shocks me, but hey, obviously the Steelers saw something in him that others didn't. That being said, back to Jacob Swain, 6'1" wide receiver out of Melissa, Texas. Former Rice commit, had offers from Louisville, Virginia Tech, USF, 22 offers total. 53 catches for 1,100 yards, 17 touchdowns this past year. In 2024, 28 catches for 277 yards and 2 touchdowns. So clearly he burst onto the scene late. Nothing wrong with a late bloomer because it's probably Colorado's game. So Colorado adds him to a wide receiver room that already has Ernest Campbell, DeAndre Moore, Joseph Williams. I mean, I don't know what role Bucard is going to play, but he's also somewhere in the mix. Cam Perry's in the mix, Danny Scudero, Quanell Farrakhan, Quentin Gibson. So the wide receiver room's pretty loaded. Xavier McDonald's another one. So I don't think we'll see a lot of him this year. That being said, I do think he's a nice developmental project, and I think him coming to Colorado shows that he's all in on Brennan Marion. I think the more guys that are all in on Brennan Marion's system, the more success that Colorado is going to have, because Brennan Marion's offense, I think, should be the future of Colorado moving forward. It was also one of those things where I feel like there's a possibility that Brennan Marion is somewhat of the coach in waiting for Coach Prime. So we'll see how that unfolds. So him bringing in all these guys that are his guys, he recruited them to Sac State. I think it's a good sign. I like this addition. I feel like Colorado's wide receiver room is getting better by the day. It's a position group that I'm never really worried about with Coach Prime because I feel like they never have issues bringing in wide receivers. But hey, it never hurts to bring in an underrated gem, and it could be one that really changes the trajectory of the wide receiver room for years to come. So that's the latest on the Colorado Buffaloes. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I'll see all of you guys tomorrow with Jay Smith as we highlight the transfers who we think will be instant stars for the Colorado Buffaloes.